Welcome everyone to the TELedvisor and Learning Design webinar this month. We've combined those special interest groups to look in detail today at visual approaches to curriculum and learning design. And we have three great business schools who've lent us their presenters, and we'll hear from one now. Welcome everyone to the TELedvisor and Learning Design webinar this month. We've combined those special interest groups to look in detail today at visual approaches to curriculum and learning design. And we have three great business schools who've lent us their presenters, and we'll hear from one now. I want to welcome Dr. Dewa Wardak and Dr. Andrew Cram from the Business Co-Design Unit at the University of Sydney Business School. The Business Co-Design Unit enables academic and professional staff to work together on educational development. That's Andrew and Dewa's role as lecturers in educational development. And alongside them, people working in learning design, media production, program evaluation, and other learning and teaching support. So both, among all their other positions, both Dewa and Andrew previously worked and studied in Sydney University's School of Education in computer-supported learning and cognition research and teaching, which is a research group that's also an alma mater for Kashmira and for others in the room as well, I know. And I want to thank you both very much for coming to talk to us today about visual learning design examples, connected learning at scale. I'm not sure who's starting, but please go ahead. And
yeah, thanks, Penny, and thanks everyone for joining. Dewa and I are really happy to be able to share. And what we'll be sharing is just some of the visual aspects of our educational co-design work. So I'll start off by giving a bit of the context of the work, what the project is and how we go about it. And then we'll jump straight into the showcase. So we're part of the Connected Learning at Scale project or class at the University of Business School, University of Sydney Business School. So this is a pretty large strategic project within the uni, and it's really about developing good educational designs in large units. So to give you an idea, some of the units have over 2,000 students. So that's the scale part. The connected learning, it's really just about good pedagogy. There are three principles that you can see up there, essentially information engagement, collaboration and participation, and authenticity. And what we're trying to do is connect students deeply and meaningfully with the discipline, content and knowledge, their peers, and the various communities across universities and the professions. And we do that through relevant real-world challenges and problems. So we're just past halfway of the 5-year project. So it's a good time actually, where I know a lot more about what works, and we're excited to be trying more and pushing, extending it for the rest of the project. Now, the way it works is that we'll work with a unit usually for 3 semesters, sometimes 2. And the first semester is purely a design and ideation. And then we'll go through 2 cycles, semester-long cycles of intervention and evaluation. And it's a co-design partnership. So we're the business co-design team, but we really go about our work as a co-design partnership with the academics, and we follow a design-based research approach. So 3 semesters means that it's really in depth, and we have the opportunity to work really deeply with the academics on the units. just get my windows sorted. So just to give you a bit of an idea about who's in the business co-design team. So we've got academic directors, academic director and deputy directors, educational developers, it's Dewa and I. Then there's a team of learning designers, media producers, a couple of evaluation and research associates, and then there's an academic support team and project officers. So there's a lot of expertise within the team, and but it's also about keeping everything sustainable and finding ways of sharing what we're doing. So at this point, I'll pass over to Dewa.
Thanks, Andrew. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the invitation. And yes, so as Andrew described the previous visual representation of who we are, it's a multidisciplinary team. Lots of different people working together, and communication is one of the important aspects. We have to get it right. So the previous image that you saw, we used often to communicate who we are in some of our presentations, but we also used it for our the communication with our unit coordinators sometimes when we are just introduced to them and we are introducing them to what we do, who we are. Sometimes there are questions about, well, what's the difference between educational developer and a learning designer? What do you actually do? Where does the research and evaluation come in? So in that order, I created actually this representation that you just see now, and this was more kind of to communicate to a certain group, and this might be someone outside the class project, but also more importantly when we are working with unit coordinator, because you could see we actually included the unit coordinator here as well. So this is kind of the purpose was to describe very quickly, broad level, what is it that we do, each team. So there is educational developer. What do? We do, pedagogical advice. We actually lead the project. We collaborate with all the other members in the team to get this co-design happen. The learning designer, for example, is digital learning design, working with Canvas, digital tools. We have a media team who is working on recording, post-production of those recordings and providing media advice as well. And the research and evaluation comes in because we have to evaluate this project. It's a big project. It's funded, and we have to make sure what we do is working. And where does the unit coordinator fit in there? So yes, we want to work with you in terms of the content will be provided by the unit coordinator. For example, we work together in collaboration to set the assessments design and provide design ideas. Of course, unit coordinator is always involved in that process. So this was kind of like a different way of communicating, and we found that it worked really well in our approach. So just moving to the next one. Thanks, Andrew. So yes, in terms of communication, again, evaluation is a very important part of this class project. And we have a very detailed document, 5-6 pages of Word document with table listing every aspect of evaluation, including what kind of data will be collected, at what point, who is actually involved, where is this data collected from, and how it's working. Now, this evaluation, although some aspects are kind of like, predetermined, there is scope for tailoring it to every unit. But as most importantly, we need buy-in from the unit coordinator, because this evaluation will be happening with their unit. And a lot of time there is miscommunication in terms of the purpose of evaluation, but also generally, what is it that you are going to do? Are you evaluating, my students, my teaching? What are you evaluating? And sometimes when we start communication with that big Word document, 5-6 pages, it's very difficult to start the communication on the right, because we want them to just focus on certain aspects, on the big image. What is it that we do and why? But the document has many different aspects, different features, and sometimes the communication can get complicated. And we found, I created this one this year actually, because I figured that when I'm just introduced to a new unit coordinator and we are trying to figure out how to design this unit, there's a lot of pressure. So evaluation should not be actually taken focus from that or adding more pressure. So this kind of general overview of, yes, we've got 13 weeks in this semester. Where do we do student interviews, student focus groups or surveys? Can it move? Yes, there is opportunity to be, tailored within those parameters. We have, unit coordinator interviews, focus group with a teaching group. Where is most of data collected also from the system? And based on that one, we literally use this diagram to move things around. And when we actually come to a decision, we share it with the unit coordinator as well as a record, and just kind of like keep moving according to the plan. So yeah, visual representation works great in that kind of communication area. So can we move to the next one? Thanks, Andrew. So now we move to this diagram, which was actually created by the learning designer in my team. So for each unit of study, we work with a learning designer, one member of the learning designer, a member from the media team, and a member from the evaluation team. So we work in collaboration, of course, with the unit coordinator. So this is the general big picture of one of the units we started this year, and it's a capstone unit. So we decided the just general kind of like, what the unit is going to look like, how many assessments going to be. This is basically preliminary kind of like overview of the whole unit. It's very important for the unit coordinator to see this, because they sometimes might think, where do I teach, this concept? And if it's actually assessed at a certain point, then obviously that should come before that. Where do I provide opportunity for students to maybe practice that skill before they are reaching that assessment? At what stage do I introduce different assessments or quizzes, for example, or any aspect that is involved based on, prerequisites? How do we actually plan that? So this is a great diagram to kind of like provide the general overview for a unit, and we found it really well working well with our unit coordinators. And we can move to the next one.
So
yes,
this is,
I'll leave that to Andrew.
Yeah, this is a similar diagram, but a little bit different. So I'm also working on the capstone a little bit earlier in the process than Dewa, but this is a alternate representation of basically the same high level unit design depiction. And I think apart from the blockiness of this compared with the prettiness of the other one, I think what this is depicting is that the progression isn't necessarily week to week, as in the chunking of the content is in phases rather than weeks. There's also, it highlights slightly different information around the workshops and the project schedule and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So we find that we use a lot of visual representations recently because we do find it that for certain communication, it works really well. We do know that research shows, the power of visual representations and how it works for communication. And a certain aspect of my actually half of my PhD was on that one. But I think we realized that in practice, it needs a lot of work refining it as well. So this visual representation that you see now, this is what I created with my learning designer to make sure that the content that is coming to us from the unit coordinator is aligned, because a lot of times the content might come to you in bits and pieces or sometimes in big chunks, determining where does it fit in a module. So this is a module view. This is a more kind of, rather than what you saw earlier, that whole unit view, this is one module. And we go module by module like that. That might be over 1 week or 2 weeks, depends on the duration. But we make sure that what we present on our LMS aligns with what the students are going to be doing in the workshop. So now you could see that we haven't actually determined yet the workshop aspect yet, because this is just a new capstone unit we are working on. Again, it's the same unit that you saw the bigger picture. And we then determine what kind of resources we need, and then how is that actually linked to the assessment and to the learning outcomes in the unit. So this is providing a really good structure for us to make sure that the modules are aligned with each other, to the unit, to the assessment, to the learning outcomes as general. Thanks, Andrew.
And this one is essentially a design thinking representation. And credit to the learning designer I've been working with on this unit, Andrew Brock. So this is, we built this to portray ideas and design, I guess, discussions that we wanted to have with the unit coordinator. And so at this stage of the project, we've been through the one semester, tried out a whole lot of things, got a whole lot of ideas, and then we're just starting the design of the interventions for the second semester. So in the middle, there's the weekly structure, so that's about the Canvas site, and then off to the right of that is sort of content that we're thinking of adding, and then the left and bottom left is just different ideas around different things that we wanted to bring up. So this was just a representation that we went through in probably hour and a half, 2 hour meeting with the unit coordinator, and really just scoped out what it was that we wanted to do with the core design around the Canvas site for the next semester. Dewa, do you want to talk through this one?
Sure. We are also, as mentioned earlier, Andrew mentioned that we are now in the process of kind of like figuring out how do we share all this knowledge that we've perhaps, these knowledge nuggets that we've collected throughout the years of this project. How do we actually make that shareable with the the relevant communities? So we are actually working on a pattern language, and certain numbers of patterns have been already created. We are still working on collecting different ideas to share them as a pattern. So some of you might be familiar with a pattern language from Christopher Alexander and Professor Peter Goodyear now in Sydney University. His project on Laureate Fellowship was on an aspect of Christopher Alexander's work. So this document, this visual diagram is actually how we work with the pattern language, with the creation of pattern language. So on the very top in the red, yellow, and blue, you would see that those are the principles where Andrew just presented earlier. These are the 3 principles of the class project. And in the blue layer on the top, these are the categories we determined. These are the issues that are important when you're teaching and learning at scale. So basically, from the literature, from working in our team, we determined that certain things are happening when you're teaching at scale that are important to take into account. And then we, on the bottom, and the green and mostly the yellow ones, those are the patterns. So we determined that, how do you actually run a live Q&A, for example, or how do you chunk content for a large unit? We are sharing these little nuggets of knowledge as patterns, and this is a live diagram. Actually, we keep adding to it as we create more patterns, or as we figure out how to structure this language in a better way. And so far, it's a live document. It's working really well for us. Andrew, would you like to add to that as well?
Oh, that's an excellent summary. What I might do is just point out that we've just published our, I guess, a blog about our intention and the background of what we're doing. So you might like to check that out. And over I guess the remainder of the project, we'll be publishing these design patterns so that we can share and get feedback from the community about what we've been doing and what we've found works.
That's fantastic, Andrew. We've actually put that link there into the chat for everyone, so that's a great start for them. Thank you both so much for showing us that variety and the different stages of your planning. It's beautiful to see.